Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to another Toonkind FPS. I am joined by our wonderful, wonderful Vamp.
Hello, I am Vamp. Is recording on?
I don't know. That's a great question. The recording
it's
is
on.
on. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful shadow named
Yeah.
Soto.
Hello to anyone listening. I am Vamp, and I swear that I will be self-caring after this weekend of FPSs, but I shall be playing myself.
Absolutely. And I'm here tonight as Bon Arlo, your local Studio's real kind healer. And so we are doing an FPS tonight. So I'm going to make sure, first of all, Vamp, you have Mersel's sheet.
Yes, I do.
Good,
Yes,
because I have Bon's sheet up. And so I'm going to kind of take the reins a little. We can pass them back and forth for fun. So, Mercel, you go to the studio really early in the morning, right?
Yes, he does. He generally goes there he generally arrives around 6 o'clock. Like, occasionally he does get there earlier, but that's usually if he's pretty sure that he needs extra time to do something.
All right. So, Marcel, you know your kitchen. You know Dodo Studios. And most importantly, you know whenever something is up. So do me a favor and roll perception.
Oh, wonderful. This is coming off the stage.
It's an 11. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a roll.
Oh,
even though it's not that important. Yeah, no. So, Marcel, you arrive at the studio and you head towards your kitchen, and the door is open and the light is on. It is very early, and surprisingly, it looks like someone beat you to the kitchen. What do?
Immediately scan the kitchen to make sure everything is still there, and in his head is going through the likely suspects, yes, Short's kid perhaps, Jack, maybe Gil came by the studio again somehow.
Well, Marcel, whenever you decide to scan your kitchen, there is, sitting on a stool you don't recognize, a feathery, tall, blonde-looking lump leaned over the counter. And the coffee maker is on, and it is happily churning away, making more coffee. And from the looks of it, it has been making a lot of coffee lately. Bon Arlo is half asleep in your kitchen. What do you do?
I will be honest, he stands there, and for a moment he debates going back out and just you know what, the breakfast can wait another day. The studio can eat leftovers for a few hours. They'll live. But then he's like, no, that's a terrible idea. No. And he just sighs, squares his shoulders, and strolls in.
Okay. Bon sort of rustles their feathers, and it's very clear they're kind of floofing themselves up a little in a very almost sleepy manner, like whenever you've been disturbed when you're half asleep and you just sort of want to roll back over into bed. And a dark eye focuses on you as Bon swivels their head completely 180 to watch your path into the kitchen. They say nothing.
I'm just gonna roll something real quick.
Yeah.
That's his deception. He manages to look completely unfazed.
Cool. Bon watches you and just is completely quiet. They have their very long, talony hands wrapped around a white coffee mug that is much larger than a normal coffee mug, and it just says, "Drink up." and it's in like this plain black text, and they just sort of watch you, and the coffee maker is going, and it churs to a stop, and Bon, without looking away from looking at you, reaches over, grabs the coffee pot, and pours more coffee into their mug.
At this point, he is like getting ready to make breakfast, but as Bon takes yet another like mug of coffee, and the coffee machine looks like it's been going for a while now. It looks like the Toonkind equivalent of San Help. It looks like that. And considering their tunes, like for all I know, like the coffee machine is actually like giving out like last gasp of breath before like just dying. You just hear it go, and then it just stops.
Oh, Bon does not react. Bon just like very slowly plunks a straw in to their mug and begins to drink their coffee, boiling hot, very clearly not reacting.
We're so sweating audio. he doesn't like. He's not even intimidated. He's just like, "But did I do something wrong? What is happening?" And he's just like, he pauses like over like the kitchen counter, and he's just, "Are you okay?"
Would you like to roll insight?
Alright, sure, that's gonna be fun, I'm sure. 13.
Okay. You don't get much from Bon. Bon looks sort of just like, I don't know if you saw Bon the day before, but Bon tends to wear a similar themed outfit. You know, they tend to wear a green and gray vest with green and gray shorts and an undershirt that usually is different colors. And Bon tends to wear the same color every day of the week. Like Wednesday is always a specific color, and Thursday is always a specific color. From what very little you know of Bon, Bon is wearing yesterday's color. And that's really all you get, other than what you have seen so far of just Bon's blank face and dead eyes.
I think like Bon like doesn't respond. He tries repeating the question again a little louder. Are you okay?
Good morning, Starboy. And they take a long drink of coffee. Don't let me bother you.
Marcel is very much inwardly. You are in my kitchen, sir. You are drinking coffee in my kitchen. You are staring at me in my kitchen. You are making me feel like I did something wrong in my kitchen. You are very much bothering me. But he does not say any of that because he is polite.
He's a good boy.
Yeah,
Does Marcel start just trying to work around Bon with their now dead coffee machine and them watching him?
Yes, he does. He does. Like he just like goes and does his like regular like normal day preparations.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and have Bon roll something, and we're gonna see how it goes.
I'm scared. Everyone's listening in. What was he trying to do?
But they give Marcel a look, and then the same position that they were slumped over whenever Marcel first walked in, they just return to it, you know, their arms on the countertop and their head just sort of in their arms, but they are in fact watching you, Marcel, and they don't really blink very often, but they are just watching you, but they continue to fluff up until they look very fluffy and very soft and almost a little round.
Marcel sees that, and I think like he is focusing like more on like, actually cooking because this is his job. He is like actually like cooking, but he can't help but like glance over at like Bon every now and then because he still feels like he's being watched. And okay, all right, he has eyes. Bon looks very cute, and he's with the cute animals. He can look a little.
Oh, Marcel. Okay. So I'm going to say this goes on for, a little bit, with just Bon watching Marcel, and Marcel pretty much working. It's very quiet. Neither of them really speak. On occasion, Bon just takes a loud sip of their coffee and just continues their gaze until after a minute, Bon takes a final sip of their coffee, and the cup is empty, and so is the entire pot. And the coffee pot is dead, so Bon cannot have any more coffee. So they sort of look at the coffee pot, look at the mug, and sigh. And they sort of...
Oh, you first, you first.
No, go ahead.
No, you first.
No, you first.
I was going to say, like, Marcel hears this, and he kind of like tenses a little, but then he also like untenses really quickly.
Oh, Bon has... Can you roll stealth for that? Because Bon has a passive perception of 19. Unless he is deliberately trying to hide that, Bon is going to notice.
Can I argue for deception?
Yes, go for it. That's a 15. That doesn't make it. Bon notices.
Does Bon do anything with this information?
Bon... Bon sort of sighs a little. And Bon gives him a good look over. Bon is going to roll insight. That's a 22.
All right. What?
I have a feeling they know that something is up with Marcel.
Yeah, with a 22, like, you definitely see that, yeah, he's very clearly uncomfortable with you being in the kitchen with him. And he's trying really, really, really hard not to let you know. He hasn't, like, actually told you to leave or anything. He hasn't even told you to scoot over. He's just, like, done his work around you this entire time. But, well, yeah, you definitely can tell that he is uncomfortable around you.
Okay. Bon takes a deep breath, and they sigh, and they look Marcel up and down and up again, and they sort of tilt their head like a bird does whenever they see something very intriguing to said bird, and they tap their fingers on the counter with a definitive click, click, click sound because they have very long talons, and they say, "Something is bothering you, Starboy."
Oh, that makes him jump. Like, that actually makes him jump because, hey, he is usually really good about hiding this with a plastic modifier, and he's just, no, nothing is bothering. Sorry about that. Sorry if it sounds like something is bothering me. It's just early. That's all.
I think you're absolutely full of fluff, Starboy. Come on, out with it.
And he says nothing at all. He's just gonna start stirring the soup that he's making and say nothing.
Bon traces the rim of their mug a couple of times, and then they sort of tap their fingers around the empty glass, and they're contemplating something. That's pretty obvious considering. And so Bon looks at Marcel, and their wings sort of shift, and they stop looking so fluffy and more like how Bon usually looks, sleeked down and very tired. And Bon looks at Marcel and says, it doesn't take a lot to hear gossip or look at the news. I hear a lot has been happening with you. And I feel like you haven't really been talking to anyone. But maybe you have. It's none of my business. But if you're uncomfortable with me being here, you might as well say something now.
When Bob first began that sentence, I will be honest, he honestly was like, is that a threat? And now that Bon is at the end of the sentence, he is just well, I thought that I thought that you were well you seem to have something against me, and I just I didn't want to do anything wrong again.
Oh, Starboy, Starboy, Starboy. You silly little Toon. Bon has a very dry, birdish laugh, and they laugh at you, Marcel, and they set their coffee mug aside, and they roll their shoulders, and both shoulders click very audibly. And they stretch a little and fluff themselves out again and give a shake, and all of their feathers settle. And they stand up, and while you are taller than Bon is also pretty broad, and Bon also has very big wings. And so while you are taller than Bon, I feel like Bon is a little intimidating to you because you are already uncomfortable with Bon.
Yes! And no. Bon, real insight.
Okie doke. That's a 19.
Alright, so I will give you this for that. Yes, Marcel is uncomfortable around you. Yes, he thinks that he did something wrong, and he is now looking at you nervously. But no, he actually doesn't look all that intimidated or scared.
Bon nods to themselves, and they gently move their stool with their feet, with a foot, over towards Marcel. And then they lean over onto the counter, onto their elbow, and they wave at the chair, and they say, why don't we have a conversation, and I can lay a few things out for you.
I have to finish the food.
Mm-hmm. And you should also have this conversation with me. And Bon is going to try rolling persuasion. I don't count on it working, but it's also, Bon is very much, you really should have this conversation with me. That's an 18.
All right.
Bon is being pretty sincere, I will say. It's very much I think we should have this conversation sort of like tone.
Alright, I am just gonna casually roll something real quick. 14, that makes it. He turns off the stove before he goes to take the seat. He turns off the stove before he goes to like take the seat, and his hands are like playing with his sleeves.
Oh, Starboy. So, Starboy, you seem pretty smart. Do you know what I am?
And I can't pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Like audio.
An Arakakra?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So, Marcel says yes. Bon is an Arakakra. Does he say anything else, or did he just say that Bon is an Arakakra?
Yeah, that's literally all he says.
Okay. Bon nods, but then they wave like hand over their like self, and they say, "Oh yes, I am an Arakakra, but I am also a real kind." Marcel.
And here he actually tilts his head a little and goes, so?
Oh, darling Marcel. You know where we are. We're in Einquell. We're in Toontown. We're in Dodo Studios. All history.
Alright.
With advantage, I will say.
5. 20 plus 5. 20.
Yeah, you totally get it. So, Marcel, we're in Dodo Studios. There's a real kind in Dodo Studios. You remember very distinctly, all of a sudden, that, quite a few months ago, there was a real kind involved with Dodo Studios, but it wasn't too good. Marcel, you remember a real kind by the name of Dora Z Scale. And Bon, if Bon had eyebrows, they would be raising them at you in almost an unimpressed look. Do you say anything? Yeah, Starboy. I'm a real kind in a town full of toons where maybe not too long ago there was a real kind who murdered toons and caused a lot of problems for a lot of toons.
She wasn't you, though.
Oh, no, I'm not. We're not alike at all, because you can roll insight here, but it's very clear that Bon is getting angry because their voice drops and there is a quiet chattering under their breath. Yep, Bon is pissed. Bon is pissed. Yep. Bon looks very angry and their feathers floof out a little as they say she is an abomination to the natural order of things. I am here to do my job and keep you all from dying and joining her stupid little plans. But she's not that important anyway.
She really is not. And he frowns because he wasn't personally involved in the Dora Z incident, and I don't think he actually knows that much about it. Because again, we have established that he can be incredibly oblivious if things don't happen like in his direct sphere of things. So I will say that when Bob says that Dora Z is not that important, he immediately goes, She really is not. From what I heard about her, being angry about her would just it make her happy, wouldn't
it? Would. But darling Starboy, it's not her I'm worried about. It's about all those little toons that see a real kind in a Toontown, and they decide they don't want that real kind in their town of toons. And do you know what I have in my body? Lots and lots of hollow bones. You see, Marcel, I can fly, but it comes at a cost. But toons can bounce back from falls that would surely kill a lot of beings. And so we are very different in that respect, if you understand what I'm insinuating.
Then, why do you stay?
Well, insight.
Alright, we're just abusing the insight button here.
Absolutely. But Bon isn't really trying to hide anything. You don't get as much from Bon here because they sort of pause, and they actually seem to consider your question, Marcel, as if they really don't know why they are still here. And Bon sort of cocks their head, and they blink, and they say, I've been here for almost 9 years now. I don't know. Maybe I will leave. Maybe I won't.
Is it, well, do you stay because of the studio?
Oh. I mean, do you stay because of the studio?
Well, yes.
Why?
Well, I do like cooking, and I am good at this job. I like cooking for people.
That's a good reason.
That's not everything, though. Like, out of character, that's not all.
Should Bon roll insight?
Sure, go for it.
That's gonna be our most abused role here. It's just insight. They're just two creatures trying to understand each other. That's a 21.
I am so tempted to roll deception to contest it, but
absolutely go ahead if you really want to.
Because behind this, like, Rob, like, Ron is, like, completely stranger to him, but at the same time, like, they are, like, having a weirdly emotional conversation, like, and this isn't really, like, anything too secretive. Like, anyone who knows him well probably knows it. But, aside from the fact that, yes, he is good at cooking, and yes, he does enjoy cooking for people, he does stay in the studio for the studio, like, the chaos here, like, the chaos and the people here, and, like, the atmosphere, like, he thrives of it. You get the feeling that in an actual, like, normal job, he'd get bored.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Bon is nodding at his answer, and they don't say anything really to that, but it's very clear that, yeah, Bon gets it. So Bon sort of shifts in place, and they look at Marcel, and they sort of blink, and it's a slow blink, and they look at Marcel, and they say, you know, why do you think I have a problem with you? We barely know each other.
Well, he doesn't know how to say it politely, so he just gestures at Bon.
Oh, that's a good enough answer, I suppose. But you are new.
Well, I mean, well, I have known people. Well, I have known people who like, and he gestures at Bon, but well, you don't treat Bob or March or Prim even like, or even Gil like you did me.
I see. Yeah. March is younger than quite a few members of the studio here. He is barely an adult, a little chickling, if you will indulge me the phrasing. And your darling Primrose, she's a little, well, you know,
Well,
she's a little soft.
Oh, all right. He was actually looking kind of like he actually kind of looked ticked off for a second there when Bob on paused. But when he said soft, his like expression immediately gives way to like a soft smile and little hearts like float out from him.
Bond sort of grins at that, and it's a very funny grin because they are an owl. Your friend, Gil Trouble. Bond contemplates something a moment, and then they reach into their back pocket, and they pull out a wallet, and from this wallet, they pull out a plastic bag. And in this plastic bag are 2 pieces of paper. And they open the bag, and they pull out 1 piece of paper, and they skim it a moment, and then they set it aside. And then they pull out the 2nd piece of paper. They show it to you, Marcel. And Marcel, on this piece of paper is a letter to the engineer. And I'm not going to make you roll for it, but it's very clearly in Gil's handwriting. And they show it to you, Marcel, and they wait a moment for you to read it, and they sort of watch you. How do you take that Bon has held on to this letter that your darling brother Gil wrote for the engineer?
I'll be honest, he read like the first few lines and then he immediately handed it back to Bon like he does not want to read Gil's private letter. Actually, he wouldn't hand it back to Bon, he just holds on to it.
Bon lets him. But Bon slowly seals up the bag, putting the other piece of paper back, and they put it back in their wallet, and they put the wallet back in their pocket. And they sort of watch him a moment, and they say, I lied to Primrose. That was in Mr. the Engineer's office with his scripts. And with how things have been lately, I really didn't want your friend to get in trouble, even if it was with the best intentions. I had been intending to give it to Bob for him to hopefully get it to our darling boss the more... They pause for a moment. Normal fashion. But if you want to hold on to it, you can give it back to your friend. You can give it to the engineer. I don't really care, but I read that, and your friend is... I don't know if you know, and that's not my secret to tell. I may not be his doctor, but I do believe in patient confidentiality,
Ah, okay. He's just going to put the note back into his coat and Okay, how does one deal with this?
I don't know, Marcel. How do you deal with that revelation? Do you understand what Bon is implying? Do you want to roll insight? Or do you, based on your experiences you've had with Gil so far, do you understand what Bon seems to be having figured out about your good brother Gil?
He knows a lot of things about Gil at this point, but he does not know what Bond knows specifically, so I think a little insight. Again with the insight. Oh, 17. That's actually pretty good.
I mean, Bon isn't trying to hide it. Bon is implying that Gil did not come from the most well-rounded home life, and Bon has inferred that. And so it's very much a case of Bon let Gil get away with everything he did that day in Dodo Studios during Treble in the Wings. Because, you know, you knew it at the time. It was pretty obvious. Bon seemed amused, but it was also Bon seems to have gathered a soft spot for Gil Treble, despite having only met him once.
He actually he processes all this, and he actually nods. Like he's like, ah, yes, that sounds about right. Because you know, like for all the trouble that Gil is, it's hard not to have a soft spot for him. And yes, he is biased, but okay, come on.
Yeah. So, do you want to ask Bon anything in particular, or are you going to let them keep going?
He is just going to let them keep going because the conversation has officially like run off without him, and he is just sitting here.
Poor Marcel. And if you want, you can roll insight one more time. I'll give you advantage on this because Bon doesn't try to hide this either. Yeah, that's
18.
an 18.
I'm taking the 18. Like, I don't think I can roll any higher than that.
So, Bon has laid out why they treated March the way they did, why they treated Prim the way they did, and why they have treated Gil the way they did. And now they have reached Bob. And as Bon seems to contemplate how they're going to answer you, Bon softens. And it's pretty obvious that they soften as they very slowly say, Bob, I treated Bob the way I treat Bob because Bob has earned that kind of treatment. And I care about Bob. So there's your answer, Starboy.
Can I say with an 18 that Marcel just looks at Bon? And he just looks at Bon, and he keeps looking.
And Bond doesn't say anything else. They sort of have a contemplative moment, and then Bond looks back at Marcel and says, I don't know what to tell you there, Starboy. I have the teenager, the soft little puppy, the troublemaker, and Bob, and there's you. And I barely know you. And I only know you from what I've heard from Bob. And
That's. I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry, Starboy? See, the thing is, I didn't treat you any different from how I would treat almost anybody else. You just happen to fall in with a group of people who I'm going to treat different for different reasons.
Well, yes, but I'm still sorry anyway. And he twiddles with his sleeves again. I shouldn't have assumed that you had something against me personally.
Starboy. You and I have no reason to quarrel. And I really don't want to go around making enemies of the people in charge of making the food here. Nor do I have any interest in causing any fights with people Bob cares about.
Oh, and he immediately shakes his head at that. Like, I wouldn't fight with Bob, even if we have never had this conversation. You're Bob's. You're obviously a good friend of Bob's. Well, yes, and roll insight for me.
Watch as this is the time they get a shitty roll. No, that's a 26.
Okay, fine.
Bon sees through Marcel like fucking laminated paper.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, like, Marcel, like, yes, he was uncomfortable with you from the beginning, but he actually had not made an effort to avoid you. He did not ask you to get out of the kitchen. He did not make an effort to avoid you. He didn't actually do anything with his unconfidence. And now you have a feeling that he might not have done so because you were Bob's friend. And like, even if you had something against him, like, he would have like not done anything because you were Bob's friend.
Do you want to roll insight on Bon?
He has a +2. I do not think he's going to get anything good.
I think he got a 21. I think he got something. So there's a moment of Bon understanding that Marcel wasn't necessarily avoiding Bon or, sort of just let Bon do their own thing, partly because, Bon is Bob's friend. And Marcel, you get a moment of Bon softening, and then you seem to realize Bon looks a little tired. And Bon is sort of just, Bon is just sort of, they lean towards Marcel a little, and they're just sort of floofing out a little. And it's very much Bon looks soft again, Bon looks soft again. And they're sort of just watching you, Marcel, like they're waiting for you to do or say something. And they're just sort of, they look very soft and very quiet.
Bon,
very much Bon is considering you in a new light.
Are you falling asleep?
I'm an owl. I'm supposed to be awake when it's early or when it's dark.
Well, yes, but it's sunrise. He tries.
Oh, but does the kitchen have windows?
I think so, yes. Why wouldn't it?
Bon looks out to the windows and they sort of cock their head and blink a couple of times, like they have just realized that it is in fact morning.
How long were you in here?
No, Starboy.
Wait, no. Have you eaten dinner at all?
Bon is going to roll deception. Bon is going to roll deception, everyone! Bon is going to try to lie.
Has Bon forgotten that he is in the kitchen with you? Oh, that is a 6.
Bon looks very guilty for a second, and Bon, I'm gonna give this to you, Marcel. You realize there's a stack of paperwork behind Bon's elbow, and it looks very tall, and there are several pens there, some of which are leaking ink onto your countertop. And you're not sure why you didn't notice this earlier, except that it was very clearly Bon was hiding the paperwork.
I hope you know that this entire conversation, Sal's been slouching a little, but now he actually straightens to his full height, and he's the one who's staring Bon down.
Oh, Bon just sort of looks at him because Bon has been caught in a lie, and very, very few times has anyone bothered to try and call Bon out on their shit.
I am going to go back to the soup. You can stay here, and you can keep, I don't know, being whatever you are. You will eat the soup, or so help me. I have had you came into my kitchen and you sat there and watched me flail for more than an hour. You will eat.
Bon sort of looks at him, and they sort of tilt their head at him, and Bon looks a little confused. And Bon gave him their stool. First of all.
Oh my god. What did you say? You kind of cut off.
Bon gave Marcel their stool. They have nowhere to sit.
Oh, Marcel stands up and gives Bon the stool back.
Bon holds the stool, and they very slowly set it down, and they're sort of just looking at Marcel kind of wide-eyed.
Marcel is going to turn the stove back on and continue working with the soup. The main reason why he's so pissed is because Bon came in here, Bon watched him flail for 15, 30, 1 hour without saying anything, and then Bon called him out and forced him to talk about his feelings, and then he hears that Bon isn't even eating himself. And it's early in the morning. This is the first few hours of the day. And you just hear aggressive clanking and chopping noises, and him finishing the soup, and then a pool of soup in front of Bon.
So this is soup?
Yes, it's soup.
Bon looks at it. Bon looks at the spoon in their mug, or Bon looks at the straw in their mug, and they pick the straw out of their mug, and they put it in the soup, and they start to drink the soup.
I'm gonna use my advantage because this is sleight of hand. 18. He's gonna snatch that straw.
Bon looks at him. Bon looks at him, and Bon narrows their eyes, and Bon takes out a spoon, and Bon, bless your heart. Bon is a bird. Bon does not have teeth. Bon picks up the spoon, and they put it in the bowl, and they put the spoon in their mouth, and then they swallow the spoon.
Oh, as soon as he realizes that the anger actually goes out of him, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and he gives it back, and he looks really, really regretful.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Bon did just straight up fucking swallow a metal spoon. You guys are welcome. Bon's gonna have to regurgitate that later.
Oh my god.
Oh. Bon is... Oh, Bon takes back their straw and they start sipping their soup again, and they just stare down Marcel a second before they just break into laughter. Your face! Oh, your face, Starboy. Oh, that was hilarious. Bon is laughing at Marcel. They thought that was so funny.
He goes red and he just turns back to his soup. Like, it's too early for this. He just wanted to come in and cook and then like deliver his food, maybe interact with some of his friends. Instead, he came in, saw an owl on the counter, and like life just went downhill from there.
Bon watches him a minute, and they're still very clearly amused. And it's just sort of Bon is letting him do his own thing, but it's also just like, oh, they're in such a better mood. This has been such a hilarious way to have a morning because they've had a night.
Oh, Bon! He is Marcel in his head. This is Bob's friend. This is Bob's friend. You accidentally made him swallow a spoon. Do not throw this spoon at him.
Oh, see, the thing is, Bon loves egging people on like this. Bon takes a second to just quietly be good and drink their soup through the straw. And then they let the straw out of their mouth and they sort of do a sort of humming noise for a second. You know, and they're like, Marcel.
He actually looks up at that because that's the first time Bon actually used this name.
I have a question.
Have you finished your soup?
They sort of look over the soup bowl. I mean, I'm not gonna really roll for soup. I feel like it's almost empty. It's like there's a little bit left, and Bon just sort of very pointedly sticks the straw back in and like slurps the rest of their soup while staring at Marcel. Oh, and then there's like a moment where it's like that wet like straw trying to drink, and it's like very clearly pretty much empty, and they just sort of peh the straw back out, and they put their chin in their hands and they look at Marcel and they say, Marcel, I have a question.
Yes.
What do you want out of this?
The soup?
No. What do you want out of... They bring their chin out of their hands and sort of give a little wave of their fingers, and they look at him and they say, what do you want out of this interaction? I'm a very to the point person. I think if I get something out of this, you should get something out of this.
He kind of pauses. Well, I'd ask you to maybe... I can't ask you to be, well, nicer to me. That's not fair on you either.
Oh, you're right. See, do you want to know a secret, Starboy?
Yes.
Do you want to roll insight? Do you want Bon to roll insight? You sound a little hesitant there, Marcel.
Yeah, no insight. He says yes. He says yes. And yeah, it's a little hesitant because the way Bon phrased it sounded really like, but yeah. Yes, it's a yes. He'd like to hear that secret.
I started working here almost 9 years ago. And if you have been somewhere for 9 years, you've been here not very long. You've seen how very happy everyone is. It used to be different once.
The studio?
The engineer used to be different once. It was a very different place.
Well, and he looks down and he looks back at Bon and he goes, well, people can change.
Oh, people change all the time. It's interesting.
Sometimes, but that's not the case here.
Oh?
He grows hesitant again. Well, you did say I'm new here. I've only seen the studio as it is now, and you've been working here for 9 years. But I think that it from what I've seen here at least, I'm pretty sure it changed for the better.
I won't fight you there. Starboy, I don't have a problem with you. I never had a problem with you. If anything, you're doing leaps and bounds over people I've worked with for the last 8 to 9 years. You should be proud of that.
He winces as Bon laughs. Is it that high a bar to surpass?
Not really. See, the little secret, Starboy, is if you get me to laugh, well, I work here. I've stayed here because toons have one thing, leaps and bounds over real kind, as you call them. They're funny.
And you stay here because we make you laugh?
I stay here because it's worth staying here for. I haven't had a friend in a long time, and here I have a friend. Some things are just worth sticking around for.
And yeah, he understands that. He nods. He can understand that. But
Go ahead.
What? Why are you telling me this?
Bon starts to laugh again, and they sort of look at you, Marcel, and they get up. And I'm gonna guess you're around the other side of the counter.
Yeah.
Bon walks over to you, Marcel. And again, they're a couple inches shorter than you. And they sort of roll their shoulders again, and they crack. And Bon puts their hands on your shoulders. Marcel, are you going to stop them?
No, I will be honest. He's so used to being manhandled at this point that like a literal stranger could like lift him up in his arms, and it take like a minute or two before like this is not a friend to kick in.
Bless his heart. Bon is still like quietly laughing, and it's very much the oh, and they have their hands on your shoulders, Marcel, and it's actually a tentative grip. And they lean up onto their tippy talons, and they rub their forehead against yours, Marcel. And they're still laughing. They're still laughing at you, Marcel. Do you want to roll insight, or are you just going to let this weird-ass air cockroach do this to you? Oh, that's a 15. You have a feeling this is important somehow, but it's also, I feel like with a 15, it's very much a, Bon is just so fucking weird. You're just, I guess this is just a Bon thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, Bon does that, and then Bon leans back, still laughing, and he just like, his hand just goes on his forehead to rub it, like, where Bon just did the weird forehead thing. And like, in his mind, you can literally see like, if like he has like, if he has like opinions on everyone he meets, you can literally see him like label Bon as, you know what? Bon is already so fucking weird, this might as well happen.
Bon does lean back, and they're still laughing, and they keep laughing for a minute, and then, their quiet cackling dies down, and they pat you on the shoulder, Marcel, and they go and they sit back down, and they look at you, and they pull out their paperwork. And Marcel, do you want to look at the paperwork they have pulled out? Because it seems rather pointed that they've pulled it out.
I guess so. I guess you will.
It is your paperwork, Marcel.
Oh!
It is poorly filled out, I will say, based on context clues. Your eye color isn't listed, your name is put in, but only the first letter of your last name. And it's very, very, very vaguely filled out.
I'm pretty sure, like, honestly, about the eye color thing, I'm pretty sure, like, he legit was like, oh, this shouldn't matter because I never, like, really opened my eyes. Like, it's not really part of his design, not really. But, like, it genuinely just did not cross his mind. He wasn't even trying to hide his eye colors.
Bon sort of looks at him, and they look at their paperwork. And, they still have very much the amused fluff to their feathers. And Bon picks up a pen, and they say, "You're a really, really silly kid. You know that, Starboy?"
I'm 21.
And I'm 33, honey. You're a child.
He can't argue against that logic. And he looks at the pen Bon has taken out, and then looks at his paperwork with his name still written on there. Like, it's just Marcel and the letter A as his last name. And he's just, what is Bon doing? He does not know.
Bon is filling out his paperwork for him. Bon is writing down anything that he didn't fill out the first time, but has been something that was probably something obvious that Marcel just didn't put down. And on the stack of paperwork on the top, you see another set of paperwork. Does Marcel look at that paperwork? You don't have to roll for it. I just want to know. Does he glance over at it?
So. I don't think so. Like, the only reason he looked at this one was because Bon kind of pointedly, like, took it out in front of him. He's not going to, like, snoop through someone's paperwork.
Okay. But I'm going to say from your peripheral, that one has a lot of similar looking. Bon has filled in this paperwork for someone else. And I'm going to let you go ahead. Does Marcel sort of guess that Bon has been filling out everyone's paperwork for them?
Yes, he does. And it clicks and he goes, oh, and he's just like, yeah, so this is why Bob and Bon get along. The paper.
Because just a small out of character aside, just looking at the amount of new people that has been hired into the studio, some of them, or like just new people in the studio, because even then they have to have paperwork filled out, especially for cases with like insurance and stuff, like if someone gets hurt on site. Cough, cough, looks at half the FPS is set in the studio, let's be real. And so Bon, out of character, I'm saying, yeah, Bon has been basically, if someone did not properly fill out their paperwork or just straight up doesn't have paperwork, Bon has basically been staying at night to fill out everyone's paperwork. And so, yeah, Bon takes out their pen and they look at Marcel and they very, very slowly, where Marcel has written just an A for his last name, they write down 4 letters, or rather 3 letters, to make it a 4-letter word. Can you guess? Bon is absolutely staring Marcel dead in the eyes as they do this.
Marcel looks, and I'm gonna roll history because I'm actually not sure if he knows Bon's last name.
Absolutely, go ahead.
16.
That's 16. I would say yes, he does know Bon's last name is in fact Arlo. A-R-L-O, Arlo. Bon has just listed Marcel as their child. Or at the very least, someone related to them. I will let that be the vagueness allowed here.
What?
Bon just sort of looks at him, and then they go down to like contacts where it's like emergency contacts, and they put Bob's name, they put Madame Vava Vixen's name, and they put Bon Arlo. And then they put the engineer.
Oh my fucking god. I am going to say that well, with every name that Bon has listed in the emergency contacts, you see him progressively get redder and redder, and smoke comes out of his ears, and he's just like, wait, why are you listing this Viva and the engineer?
Marcel, Bon keeps listing names, and there's a couple of people you don't recognize, but there are more people you recognize. Bon is very slowly filling out friends of yours' names. There's Tobias's name, and there's Primrose's name. You know, Bon is very steadily making a list of emergency contacts for you.
I'm just like, Marcel has a lot of friends. Is Bon just like,
Bon doesn't know everyone, but Bon knows everyone in the studio that Marcel knows pretty much. So Marcel, everyone in the studio who is close friends or family with you, they're being listed out on this paperwork, and Bon has probably filled out their paperwork, so Bon knows their information. Congratulations, Marcel.
He just stands there, and he's just, what? Like, at least he's not actually like actively spiraling like he would have if this happened before Memory Lane. But yeah, Bon just beat him over the head with this, huh?
Bon isn't subtle. Bon very rarely is subtle, let's be real.
I mean,
Uh,
I honestly like. I can see him being like a bone saw as opposed to a scalpel.
Bon looks at Marcel, and Bon is very blankly looking at Marcel, and Bon looks at Marcel, and Bon. I'm going to let Bon make an assumption here because Bon has a fucking 19 wisdom, and Bon isn't stupid. Let's be real. Bon has had time to think about things. They do a lot of thinking.
Sure.
Bon looks at Marcel, and Bon sets down the pen and sort of leans over to Marcel and says, you know, dramatic backstories aside and all with everyone who's decided to walk in the door the last however long, if you're trying to hide from someone, I feel like the best option is just giving yourself a different name. And you already have Marcel, and you already had A listed.
Roll inside. Roll inside. Roll inside. I want you to roll inside immediately.
That's an 18.
When you said different name, he actually blushes and looks away, pulling at the neck, like his turtleneck.
Oh, Bon is grinning. Oh, Bon is grinning. It's a horrible, terrifying, owlish grin. You see just like Bon's beak, and it's a little scary because, well, Bon doesn't have teeth. Bon does somehow have slightly serrated edges to the back of their beak. It's a little, this is very much a real kind owl that is very big. Oh, Starboy. Just let me know when I need to change the paperwork again.
No, it's not for a while.
Oh. You silly Starboy. And Bon just sort of picks the pen back up, and they're still very clearly amused. Again, this is just, it's been kind of interesting. Bon's having a great time, though. How is Marcel feeling?
He's just going to latch on to one thing that he's been curious about at Bon for a while now, and just ask it so he doesn't have to face like the rest of what just happened in the kitchen. Why do you call me Starboy? Do you know Stella?
Stella. I don't know a Stella, Starboy. I call you Starboy because you came into this studio and you've got stars all over you, Starboy, including stars in your eyes if you came here and just walked in and started working one day.
And actually, when Bon says that, he actually hops out a little sinister sounding giggle. Like he didn't mean it to sound sinister. It just sounds like that. Like, and he opens his eyes actually, and they actually do have stars in them.
Oh, Marcel, if you thought Bon was fucking amused now, Bon falls off the stool, and there's a moment where they are just a pile of feathers and fluff on the floor. I'm not going to break anyone's ears, but they are absolutely doing the loudest, most wretched, owlish, raven, just crackling laughter. You have officially just... Bon adores you now. You've done it. Bon is on the floor, just fluffed up to the 9 heavens. They are laughing so hard.
Marcel's just... Okay then, And he looks at the time, and more specifically, he's looking at how high the sun is in the sky, and he's going, "Oh, Pack, I still need to finish. I still need to finish the rest of the soup.
Bon waves them off. They're very slowly getting a hold of themselves and like picking themselves off the floor and like brushing off whatever was on the floor now on them off. They're going to be preening later for sure. Oh, Starboy. And Bon goes over to their stool and they pick it back up and they sit back down on it, and you see them pick up their pen and they start writing in your eye color, Marcel.
It's all just like, oh right, eye color, and Bon can like, I'm not gonna make you roll insight for this one because you can kind of see like it's very obvious that Cell did not genuinely just did not think of the fact that hey, your eye colors might be relevant because he usually has them closed.
And Marcel, as you continue to rather almost frantically now, I suppose, start making food for the rest of the studio, Bon lets you be, and Bon continues to work on their paperwork, and at some point when you look over Marcel, Bon is asleep.
I'm going to roll something. And alright, fun fact. Well, he has been leaving. He has like gotten into a lot of adventures and met a lot of people. And he actually has like a spare coat like in his hat. And it's obviously like he doesn't actually have a blanket in his hammer space, but considering how much taller he is than Bon, and like considering the fact that yeah, Bon has a broader frame, but Cell is still like his coat is still like pretty oversized for him. Like he's just gonna casually like really carefully so he doesn't wake Bon up, like just put the coat over Bon.
Oh, Marcel. Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, Bon is just dead asleep. If there had been any chance of you thinking that Bon did not in fact stay overnight at the studio, it is completely shattered by the fact Bon is dead asleep, and Bon looks very much like a floofy, puffed up owl just sleeping away. They're so sleepy.
He's like, on one hand, he's fine with Bon sleeping in the kitchen now that they've gone through whatever that was. He's not exactly sure like what just happened, but Bon's in the kitchen. He is in the kitchen. He's unsure of exactly how long Bon's going to be able to stay asleep here.
You underestimate how fucking tired Bon is. Bon drank enough coffee to kill a coffee pot. Bon is very tired.
Yes.
Alright.
Actually, before we end the FPS, can I paint a picture for you?
Absolutely. Paint me a beautiful word picture.
Alright, so a few days after this entire incident, and probably like a few days before Animus, like Bon, you are probably in the med bay / infirmary or whatever like it's called in Dodo Studios, and
Bon's office.
And roll me a perception.
Absolutely. I will say Bon again has a passive perception of fucking 19.
I know, but it's funnier this way.
It's a 22! Bon knows all, Bon sees all, Bon hears all.
Alright. So I think like a lot of people come and go through the infirmary, like we are at Dodo Studios, right? But yes. This is kind of like unique in the sense that while yes, the door creaks open hesitantly, like how someone would push the door open hesitantly if they had gotten injured. The steps that go over the floor, not ones he recognized. And again, although whoever it was hesitated when they opened the door, like there isn't actually that much hesitation in their steps. And if when you look up, like you see Marcel like kind of looking around for you, and he doesn't look injured, but he also has never like gone to the infirmary before unless it was to visit someone already there. I'm looking at the one specific FPS.
Okay, because Bon rolled so high, that's a 22 again. Does Marcel look like he particularly wants to talk to Bon?
Yes, he looks like he's looking for Bon. It doesn't look like anything pressing or serious because like he doesn't look panicked or like, hey Bon, someone's like in mortal danger kind of like stress. It's just like he's just looking for Bon.
Alright. Bon, who had been at a small workstation, sets aside what they had been working on, and they stand up and they roll their shoulders with a crack, crack, crack and a fluff of the feathers, and they pointedly sort of knock on the table and they say, "Do you need something, Starboy?"
Bon. He jumps a little and he turns to look at Bon, and he's actually holding what looks to be a container, like you know, one of those plastic containers that you put food in.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually holds it out for Bon to take.
Bon tentatively almost takes the container, and they sort of look at Marcel.
And Marcel just gestures for Bon to open it.
Bon opens the container, and they look at what must be inside.
All right. He had no idea what Bon liked. All right, he had no idea what Bon liked, but because Marcel is secretly an agent of chaos, and the joke was right there, he actually made the bonbons. not just any specific bonbons. Like these ones are unique in the sense that they actually like this entire container. It looks like a graveyard scene. You've got like bitter dark chocolate, like dark chocolate, like dust and like crumbs, like resembling like graveyard dirt, and the bonbons themselves look like gravestones.
Oh, Bon sees that, and Bon lights up. Like, you, for a second, I feel like you almost think, how could anyone just, like, be intimidated by this owl? Especially from what you've seen the last couple of times. Although, you know, you sort of understand considering you were intimidated a little by Bon. Or at least hesitant. But Bon lights up and their feathers all sort of like rustle, and they lean over and they gently bonk their forehead against yours, and Marcel, they just give the most delighted sound, and without hesitation, Bon pops one into their mouth.
I think like actually Marcel's going to like tap his fingers against the lid of the plastic container because there is something taped there.
Ooh. Bon looks at the note.
It's just a note that says, "Happy Animus and sorry for all the trouble we've given you." And roll another insight for me.
Yeah. It's a 25.
25. The dice really feel like yeah. Bon can read Marcel like a book inside Marcel having plastic. Yeah. This is the law. So yeah, with a 25, like you can figure that the apology, well, at first you might think that it's like about the trouble, like in Trouble of the Wings, like he's apologizing on Kill's behalf.
Mm-hmm.
But the way like Sal's acting, you actually think that he might be apologizing for just what you've gone through with the studio in general.
Oh. Bon reads the note, and they very tenderly take the note off the container. And they set it onto the work table next to them, and then they put the lid on the container and they set it on the work table. And I don't know if, again, you said Marcel is just sort of used to being manhandled.
Yeah.
Bon absolutely just sort of wraps their arms around Marcel, and their wings go around Marcel, and if there are any windows, Bon has absolutely hidden both of them from view. And Bon hugs Marcel, and yeah, Bon hugs Marcel, and Bon is very soft, and Bon is very warm, and Bon just sort of laughs, and they say, "Oh, you silly, silly, silly star boy. I don't need apologies. I'm still here, aren't I?"
Well, yes, but well, I guess it wouldn't hear it, even if it's not from the people who actually gave you trouble.
You are a gem, you silly star boy. And they, again, bonk Marcel on the forehead. And it's really funny because it's just like, again, it's just Bon keeps bonking him on the forehead. You don't know what's up with that.
You does not know. Like, listen, this is Bon like bonking him on the forehead is not actually the first affectionate cue he has missed from like other animal tunes.
He's valid.
He has no idea of anything.
He is oblivious, and we still adore him. Bon just sort of nods at what he's said, and honestly, this is probably one of the first times anyone has reached out to Bon like that, and so Bon is very touched. And Marcel, you may not know it, but Bon will absolutely kill for you now, or like help you. Bon, you have Bon's undying loyalty now, and Bon has very interesting standards for what they are willing to do.
Do you really think Marcel will know this?
No, but Bon does.
Listen, Marcel would not know. Come on, he just barely.
He doesn't. He's oblivious. That is just a special treat for you, I suppose, then, Vamp, because Bon will now kill for Marcel, and Bon will hide a body for Marcel. That's the important thing, actually, because killing someone is very easy. It's the whole getting rid of the evidence part that's hard.
God forbid that Marcel actually kills anyone, because I'm pretty sure there will be like a dozen tunes ready to hide a body for him.
Yes.
No heart. No, don't. No tombstone for Kyle. Do not make Kyle kill the fucker. It'd be too satisfying. Actually, like Celsius glad that Bon actually liked graveyard themed bonbons, because he made them with like the bonbons he chose because bonbons he absolutely had to. But with the actual graveyard scene, like it was only because he vaguely remembered Bon being dressed as a graveyard digger, like back during Halloween.
Oh, they probably do like the same sort of line of costumes every year, so everyone's used to it. But yeah, that would have been the first time that Marcel would have seen that.
Yeah, he was like, okay then, and like again, Dodo Studios is already so pecking weird. This might as well happen.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was their medic who was dressed as yeah, that he remembered that.
Yeah. But yes.
We probably should wrap it up now.
Yes. I was going to. So yeah, Bon is absolutely delighted by the bonbons. They sort of give a second, and then they let go of the hug, and then their wings go down, and they step away, and they sort of take their stuff that Marcel has given them, and they put them properly on their desk, and then, you know, Bond sort of sees Marcel out the door, and is still very quietly laughing because they look at him and they say, "Let me know if you need to add anyone else to your paperwork, because I'm going to be taking care of some soon that may involve you. Don't worry about it, though."
He squeaks at that, like he legitimately squeaks, and is there like goes up, and then he just goes, I still have animus gifts to give out. Bye.
Oh, yeah, Bond lets them go, and they're very amused.
I think,
and thus ends the FPS.
oh god, Audio, I
Marcel
can't believe you have done this.
I don't know what you're talking about, Vamp.
You don't know what I'm. Okay, you know what? Great my creation. I need to yell at you with everyone else.